welcome to another edition of Wyo-Dakota 2A Arsenal Roundup News. My name is Richard Espinoza. I'm your host. We are your primary source for Second Amendment news, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, whether it help benefit your Second Amendment rights, or will cause an effect towards your Second Amendment rights, whether it be here in the great state of South Dakota, or even the great state of Wyoming, or any other part of the United States, whether you live in a red state or blue state. We keep you informed on important Second Amendment issues that matter to you, so that you know who to contact whenever your Second Amendment rights are being violated. Well, I'm here in my new home in Belfouche, South Dakota. And I just want to give a shout out to all my friends in Wyoming. I just want to say, it was great knowing you. Although my time in Wyoming was short-lived, I lived in Wyoming for about 1.5 years. I really enjoyed my time living in Wyoming. It was a great state. People are friendly. People are very like-minded like me. True defenders of the Second Amendment, true American patriots, as well as the people of South Dakota, true defenders of the Second Amendment, true American patriots. But I had a special bond with many people in Wyoming. But because I was laid off from my job, I had to move to Belfouche, South Dakota, and I accepted a job in Spearfish, South Dakota as a full-time sports reporter. So I'm looking forward to covering local sports in the Black Hills, as well as covering shooting sports and rodeos. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to my next adventure. Well, today I'm going to be talking about an interesting subject from Mark Smith of Four Corner Diner. For those of you who don't know who Mark Smith is a constitutional attorney. He is an attorney who fights for Second Amendment rights. He was also the winner of last year's Gundy Awards as one of the best social media influencers. So I encourage you to follow Mark Smith whenever you can. And I also encourage you to follow Jarrett from Guns and Gadgets, who also keeps you informed on important Second Amendment issues, as well as Liberty Doll, and as well as John Crump and many other Second Amendment influencers. Always follow them and keep up to date. And also, if you like my videos, please subscribe. Your subscription would be important, so I know how many people are watching and how many people are interested in the topics I have to bring up. So back to the important subject that Mark Smith made yesterday, and I found it very interesting. It was something I should have thought about. For those of you who may or may not know, the White House Press Room was renamed back in 2000 as the James Brady Press Room. And the reason why I have a problem with that was because, well, first of all, it was then President Bill Clinton who named it the James Brady Press Room. And the reason I have a problem with that is because Bill Clinton didn't do it out of good intention. He did it as an insult towards law-abiding citizens. And ever since Bill Clinton was embarrassed back in 1994 when all his gun ban cronies were voted out of office, and Bill Clinton paid a huge political price when he passed unconstitutional gun laws that violated our Second Amendment rights back in 1993 and 94. All his gun ban cronies, a huge majority of them, were voted out of office. Especially, it was then Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, who was the incoming Speaker of the House, was voted out of office, which caused a huge effect for Bill Clinton. And because Bill Clinton was outnumbered and all the way to his second term, Bill Clinton kind of threw a hissy fit at the American people, especially the American gun owners, because he could not complete what he wanted to complete. Now imagine if Bill Clinton had his gun ban cronies during his 8 years in office, we would be in far worse shape than we ever were before with our Second Amendment rights. And if you think what Joe Biden did was really bad, and believe me, Joe Biden was worse. when it came to harming our Second Amendment rights. Bill Clinton could have done a lot even worse. He could have done the exact same thing as Biden did had his gun ban cronies have not been voted out of office. So I have a problem with the name, the James Brady Press Room, because it was used as an insult towards law-abiding gun owners. It was Bill Clinton's way of sticking the middle finger at us because he hated the fact that he lost. He hated the fact that his friends were voted out of office. And although Bill Clinton did serve two terms because there was nobody good out there at the time, basically just rhino Republicans, even Bob Dole was a rhino at the time. But the point is that Bill Clinton renamed the press room as a means of an insult. And furthermore, that bothers me is that, well, let me just say that I'm sorry for what happened to James Brady, but I don't feel sorry for him. And what do I mean by that when I say I'm sorry that this had to happen to him, but I don't feel sorry for him? And the reason why I don't feel sorry for James Brady is because he made millions of dollars off his own tragedy. Both him and his scumbag wife, the late Sarah Brady, they all made millions of dollars off his tragedy. Now, James Brady and Sarah Brady are no longer on this earth. They passed on, but their kids are continuing their foundation, which is now known as Brady United. It went from the Brady campaign to Brady United. And what bothers me is about James Brady is that he wants to blame you and me for what happened to them. And ever since his tragedy happened, they tried to pull many fast ones on the American gun owners. We go back to 1982 in California, where they tried to ban handguns in the state of California. They actually had a proposition. Although it did not pass, people said it was unconstitutional and they voted no, not to ban handguns. But a lawsuit was filed against the state of California because, number one, you do not put a vote on a constitutional right. In other words, we all know that gun ownership is a constitutional right, and therefore you cannot put a vote to ban it because it's a permanent endowment to our Constitution. And it says that constitutional rights cannot be registered, they cannot be infringed upon. No more than no less can you infringe upon a First Amendment right. Keep in mind, you go back to the 1860s where they tried to pass a polling tax on the American people to vote because it was used to discourage certain people from voting. But that was ruled by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional. Well, the same thing with the Second Amendment. You don't register a constitutional right, and you don't infringe upon a constitutional right, and you cannot put a vote to eliminate a constitutional right. The Bradys were behind that, but California got sued. Then Gavin Newsom did the same thing when he was then the mayor of San Francisco with Proposition H, which was heavily backed and supported by the Brady campaign. Although it did pass, unfortunately, but the Supreme Court quickly ruled unconstitutional. You cannot put a vote to ban a constitutional right because a constitutional right is a constitutional right. It's not for sale, nor can you eliminate it or destroy it. So that's what happened with Proposition H. It quickly went to the Supreme Court and they ruled against Gavin Newsom. And now Gavin Newsom is now throwing a hissy fit. He's now passing even more stricter gun laws because he was influenced by the Brady campaign of James and Sarah Brady. And that's what bothers me about James Brady. I mean, it's sad what happened to him, but I don't feel sorry for somebody who makes millions of dollars off his own tragedy and wants to blame you and me. If he wants to blame somebody, the person he needs to blame is John Hinckley Jr. Now, John Hinckley Jr., we all know, is a nut job. He does have mental problems, granted. I'll grant it that he does have mental problems. But he made a choice. About 3 years ago, John Hinckley Jr., at the time when he was 67, just was released from prison, he actually blamed the gun for him committing the crime. He said that the gun influenced him to do it. And he strongly supports stricter gun laws to prevent people like him from doing such crimes. Well, John Hinckley Jr., number one, did go through a background check. He bought the gun legally. He went through a background check. He bought it from a pawn shop in Texas. But he also broke the law. He committed a crime. It's not the gun's fault. It was his fault. And he wants to blame the gun for him committing the crime. It's kind of like saying, if somebody told you to jump off a cliff, would you do it? If somebody tells you to jump off a 2-story building, would you do it? And if you committed a crime, you killed somebody, would your argument be, well, the devil made me do it? No, the devil didn't make you do it. You did it on your own free will. See, we have what's called free will. We either we're going to be good people or we're going to be bad people. We either are going to be criminals or we're going to be law-abiding. You have free will. Whether if you have mental illness or not, John Hinckley Jr. made a choice. He wanted to impress Jodie Foster, who he was stalking. And the old saying goes, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Well, John Hinckley Jr. was playing stupid games and he won stupid prizes. He got a butt whipping from the Secret Service, got thrown in jail, served time. That was the stupid prize he won. So he played stupid games and then he won a stupid prize. But yet he has the nerve to blame the gun for what he did. He did it to himself. He has nobody to blame but himself. He can say that he's changed all he wants. And I wish him well if he has changed. But the fact of the matter is, he should blame himself, not the guns. Stricter gun laws do not work. I've watched a recent interview on the NBC's Lockdown. They always ask criminals about gun laws. They laugh. And they say, people who obey gun laws are idiots because they're hurting themselves. They actually admitted to this. They actually admitted, professional long-term criminals admitted that people are idiots when they obey gun laws because they don't. They say no matter what gun law you pass, I'm not going to obey it because I'm going to do a crime. And I like stricter gun laws because it makes it easier for me to do my crime. That's what a criminal confessed to in the TV series Lockdown. Criminals actually admit to that. But in the eyes of the Brady campaign, they think that somehow, some way, a background check and a waiting period would help. It doesn't help. Already, many states, especially here in South Dakota, you do background checks, but it's only lasts for 10 minutes, only lasts for 1 day, and then you get your firearm. When I bought a gun in Wyoming, well, I only had to do just a background check, and I got it home in 1 day. Stricter gun laws don't do anything. And what further disturbs me about James Brady and Sarah Brady is that they accepted money from these Hollywood elites. People like Brian De Palma, Oliver Stone, and Rob Reiner, who we all know as the liberal son-in-law, the gun-hating hippie Michael Civic, who to this day support stricter gun laws, but all three of these Hollywood directors who support stricter gun laws don't mind using guns in their movies, using violence in their movies, and turn around and blame it on you, the law-abiding citizen, but yet some people are foolish to give their money to them. Well, I don't give my money to them because they're a bunch of hypocrites. I'm not going to give my money to hypocrites, especially people like Brian De Palma or Oliver Stone or even Rob Reiner for that matter. These are people who have armed security guards that protect them 24/7, who escort them in the cars or follow them to a place so that they don't be a victim of stalking or any type of harassment. Well, James and Sarah Brady also have armed security to protect them, so it's okay for them, but not for us. See, the Brady campaign simply hates the fact when you use a firearm to protect yourself because it defeats their narrative. They rather you be the victim, be shot and killed so that they can promote even more gun control. But if you use a gun to protect yourself against a criminal, the Brady bunch has sympathy towards the criminal who got killed, and the victim now becomes the bad guy, and the bad guy becomes the victim. That's the kind of game they play. And that's what disturbs me about James Brady and Sarah Brady. Now, I don't wish this on anybody who I disagree with. I would never wish this on my own worst enemy. I would never wish anybody getting shot and killed. No matter how much I dislike the person, I don't wish that on them. Nor should I, nor will I. However, I can't feel sorry for somebody who makes millions of dollars off their own tragedy. And that's how Sarah Brady and James Brady made their money. They made money off their own tragedy and want to blame you and me. How is it my fault that a criminal committed a crime which I'm not responsible for? Why am I at fault? How am I a threat? Or how are you a threat if you go to the gun range and peacefully shoot your firearm, have a fun day of shooting, but they want to blame you? It doesn't make sense. And because Bill Clinton did this as a political statement for political publicity, therefore, I feel that President Trump should rename the press room, remove the James Brady name. It should be either called the Benjamin Franklin Press Room, because after all, Benjamin Franklin was one of our founding fathers. He was also a journalist. He was also a member of the press. He was the editor-in-chief for the Pennsylvania Gazette. Or call it the Edward R. Murrow Press Room or the Walter Cronkite Press Room, although some of you may disagree on that. But me personally, even though Walter Cronkite was a Democrat and he was a liberal, but I respected him as a journalist, I felt personally he was a little bit more fair compared to journalists today. But then again, I grew up watching Walter Cronkite as a kid, and he was one of my biggest influences on why I wanted to become a journalist. He reported the news the way the news should be reported. He was much better compared to what we have in the media today. I mean, I take, for example, the late Tim Russert. Yeah, he may be a Democrat, he may be liberal, but he never allowed his political bias to intervene with his job. And the truth of the matter is that using James Brady's name for the White House press secretary room is just simply an insult towards law-abiding citizens. And Bill Clinton, again, did not do this out of good intention. He did it as a way of sticking the middle finger at us because he couldn't get it his way. He couldn't accomplish what he wanted to accomplish in taking away our Second Amendment rights. And he hated the fact that his stricter gun laws did not work, especially what happened in Columbine back in 1999. We had the most strictest gun laws under the Bill Clinton administration, but look what happened. Those kids still committed the dirty deeds. And there has been rumors and speculations that the FBI and other members of law enforcement were warned about Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, and they ignored it. So, and then the Brady campaign even went further, using that tragedy as their means of trying to promote even more stricter gun laws. Stricter gun laws don't do anything but benefit the criminal. That means the law-abiding citizen is disarmed and you become the slaughtered lamb instead of being the armed sheepdog. So therefore, I encourage you, all of you who is watching this video, to call, send a letter to President Trump and demand that the James Brady Press Room should be renamed. His name should not be in the press room. Either call it just the White House Press Room or give it another name, but definitely not with James Brady, because it was used to insult law-abiding gun owners. It was Bill Clinton's way of saying F you at us because he lost in 1994 when all his gun ban cronies were voted out of office, including his brown nose, the then Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, was voted out of office, and he was the incoming Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House got voted out. I wish that could have happened to Nancy Pelosi, but that never happened, unfortunately. So again, I encourage you to call up your elected officials, your congressman or your senator, and have them demand President Trump remove the name James Brady from the press room. It should simply just be called the press room, or use a name after a founding father who defended both the First and the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, James Brady's name was used for political purpose and for political publicity. Well, that is it for today for Wyo-Dakota Arsenal Roundup News, or now Dakota Wyo-Dakota Arsenal Roundup News. If you have any important legislation in your state that you want to bring to my attention, and you want me to inform everybody about this important legislation, feel free to send me an email at rjespinoza, that's rjespinoza.roundupnews@gmail.com. Tell me what state you are from. Tell me what the legislation is about. Tell me, will it benefit your Second Amendment rights, or will it affect your Second Amendment rights, and how it can and will affect it. Explain these details to me, and I will be sure to bring it up in my next broadcast. Also, I also encourage you to call the White House as soon as possible. We're getting close to a decision being voted and being made on whether or not the futures of short barrel rifles and the suppressors will be off the National Firearms Act list, and well, as it should be. So far, Congress has passed to eliminate suppressors from the NFA, where you no longer have to pay any fees. Call your senators and tell them to support the Hearing Protection Act and also protect the Short Act, because the NFA is simply unconstitutional. It's a clear violation of our Second Amendment rights. So please do your part, call them up, and tell them where you stand. Well, again, that's it for today for Wyo-Dakota 2A Arsenal Roundup News. Until then, be safe, be armed, be vigilant, protect your home and your loved ones in your community with a firearm. And remember, the Second Amendment is just not about guns, it's about freedom. Freedom matters. Have a great day, fellow patriots.